Hi, welcome back to science class. Today we're going to go over some of the recent work we've done about the scientific method, and I'm going to help you with today's assignment, giving you some examples. And tomorrow there'll be a quiz that looks just like what you've done, just exactly like what we've gone over. Not the same questions entirely, but very, very similar. And you can refer to any of the work you've already done while you're doing the quiz. It's open notes. Okay, so let's start looking at the materials we need for today. All right, this is the scientific method vocabulary. All right, in a slightly different form because it's not in the Google Forms, but here are the definitions that you pretty much saw and the possible examples. All right. The vocab we're going to concentrate most on in today's work and on the quiz are the independent variable, the dependent variable, and the constants. All right? Now remember, a variable in science or in math is something that can change. The independent variable is the one I can change, the one I am manipulating during the experiment to see what happens. Like, for example, Moby did it, the watering schedule for his plants. Never water it every day, 3 times a week, only once a week. That's his independent variable. The dependent variable is what you're looking for. What Moby was looking for was the health of his plants. After a month of following this schedule, see which one grew better. Find out whether watering every day was a good idea or not, or what might be a better idea. Okay? Now, there's plenty of things that can affect how healthy a plant is after a month. Those things you have to keep as constants so that you know what you find down here is due only to what you did here. That's the secret of experiments and using the scientific method properly. Okay, now in the video, they said for Moby's plants, they were all going to be fig trees. They're in the same soil, same pots, getting the same amount of sunlight, and we're letting them all go for a month, the length of the experiment. Other things that weren't mentioned but should be constants are the size of the plants at the beginning of the experiment. They should all be pretty much the same because how big they already are can affect how big they get over the course of the next month. All right, the amount of water given to the plants each time. All right, now if we're only changing the watering schedule, we need to make sure that the plant that's getting watered every day is getting 7 times as much water as the plant that's getting watered once a week. And the only way we can do that is put the same amount of water on the plant each time we water it, no matter what the schedule is. That has to stay the same. All right. The temperature where the plants are growing also has to be the same because that can affect the way plants grow, and anything else that you can think of. And if you didn't think of it, when you put this study in for peer review, one of the people who's looking at it might think of something and then say, how do you know that your results are due to this when you forgot to take care of this? Or you don't explain why you didn't think this is having an effect. You didn't test for that or whatever. Peer review is really great for helping you find out where you made a mistake. Trust me, I used to work as a research scientist, and I think peer review reviewers have a lot of fun with that. Okay? Of course, it's also fun when you're doing it to somebody else. So that works out. Okay, so constants, independent variable, dependent variable. That's what we're going to worry about in these 2 experiments. All right, on the quiz tomorrow, you're going to get a piece of paper that looks a lot. You're going to get a sheet that looks like this one. Okay, but it's not the same 2 experiments. The things are not in the same order, but we will still be looking for these same 5 parts of the scientific method. The question, what we want to find out, the hypothesis, what we're going to test to find out the answer to the question, the experiment, what we're going to do, the data, the numbers, observations, the results we get, and the conclusion, what we can figure out based on the data. And what's the answer to the question, when was our hypothesis supported? Okay, so let's just go quickly over this. So you know you have the right answers here, if you're going to, especially if you're going to use this as a reference during the quiz. All right, number one, I will drop a variety of objects from a height of 10 feet and use a stopwatch to record the time it takes for them to hit the ground. This is what I am going to do. That is an experiment. Right? Right. Ignoring wind resistance, if two objects are dropped at the same time, then they will both hit the ground at the same time because gravity is the same for both of them. All right, here's our reason. There's kind of like our research is hidden in our hypothesis here. If I do this, then this will happen. Okay. The results of this experiment showed that objects fall at the same rate despite weight differences. That's a conclusion. Object, weight, and drop time. Shoe bowling ball pencil, 15 ounces, 12 pounds, 2 ounces. This fell in 0.82 seconds. So did the bowling ball. The pencil took 0.84 seconds. All right, these are numbers that we can measure and compare. This is a report of our data. All right, this would look better as a table than this, but it fits on the worksheet better this way. Okay. I will put a thermometer in each of 3 pots of boiling water. Each pot will contain a different amount of salt. I will observe and compare the temperatures in each pot when the water begins to boil. Okay. Sounds like what I'm going to do. So there's the experiment for the other study. Remember, we got 2 studies mixed together here. So we're going to have 2 experiments, 2 conclusions. We got those. 2 sets of data, 2 hypotheses, and 2 questions. All right. I haven't found the questions yet, obviously. No cues. All right. Does adding salt change the temperature at which water begins to boil? Question mark. That's a hint. There's one question. Do heavier objects fall faster than lighter objects? That's another question. Temperature when boiling begins and salt quantity. Pot 1, 214.2 degrees Fahrenheit when there's no salt, 216.3 degrees Fahrenheit when there's 50 grams of salt, and 218.3 degrees Fahrenheit when there are 100 grams of salt. All right. The official boiling point for pure water in Fahrenheit is 212 degrees. Okay, so we need to think about that a little bit too. All right, now here we have numbers. Here we have more numbers, and these numbers change as these ones change. That sounds like a perfect line graph. So that would be another way to show these data if you were writing this up as a lab report in class. And our last question here, if adding salt to water increases the density of the water, then it requires more energy to make it boil, thus increasing the boiling point temperature. If we do that, then this is necessary. That's our hypothesis we're predicting, whether that's going to be true. All right. So make sure you have the right answers in the right places on this. Let me know if you don't understand why something is what it is. And then we can come here on the quiz review worksheet. All right, I'm going to help you with the saltwater boiling point. You are going to take care of the drop time. All right, and to make things a little easier for you, here are both experiments down here. Here are the steps. And remember, the experiment is where we're going to find our independent variable and our dependent variable and our constants. Okay, and even if they're not spelled out here, turn your brain on, think about it a little bit. Okay, be the peer review for this experiment here. Okay, so saltwater boiling point, the independent variable. What am I in control of? What am I changing? What do I think is going to make a difference to the boiling in this experiment? And it is each pot will contain a different amount of salt. I'm determining how much salt I'm putting into each of these pots. That's up to me. That's my independent variable. The amount of salt in each pot of water. Okay. Whether I put in however many it was, how much was it? Okay. 0 grams, 50 grams, or 100 grams of salt. All right. Up to me. Dependent variable. What do I think is going to change? The temperature in each pot when the water begins to boil. All right. That's what I'm looking for. Temperature. Temperature at which each pot of water starts to boil. That's what I'm looking for. And then I'll know whether the salt affects the boiling point or not. Now, what else could affect this that has to be the same in all of these pots of water? Well, when I do my research, I will know that it's not just the amount of salt, it's actually the concentration of salt. And concentration is how much salt in there is in there in a given volume of water. So that has to be the same. Okay? If I put 50 grams of salt in 50 milliliters of water, I can't put 100 grams of salt in 100 milliliters of water. It also has to be 50 milliliters of water. Good luck with that. All right, so the amount of water in each pot has to be the same. Otherwise, the salt is not the only thing affecting this boiling point. It has to be the same. That means it's a constant. The amount of water in each pot has to be the same. All right, and we looked at those temperatures. Okay, we either have to use the same thermometer or, the way I phrased it here, put a thermometer in each of 3 pots of boiling water. Each pot will contain there. All right, we're going to use the same thermometer so that no matter which pot it's in, when that thermometer says, say, 125 degrees F, that water in that pot is actually at the same temperature as the other ones. Okay? Now, one more thing that you might not realize could be important is this. The word salt in science does not just mean the stuff that you shake on in the shaker on your table. All right? Salt means a particular kind of chemical, right? And they're not all the same. All right? Table salt, when we usually eat, is sodium chloride. All right? Sea salt has some sodium chloride in it, but has other stuff in it. There's also stuff like Himalayan pink salt. All right, that has other stuff in it. It's a different color. All right, so we have to be sure, and since they have different components, they could have a different effect on the dependent variable. All right, so whatever plus, they might also have 50 grams of one is not necessarily the same thing as 1/2 of the 100 grams of the other. So you have to use the same kind of salt. In the 2 pots where you put salt. Has to be the same kind. Okay? Otherwise, things could change. All right, so there we go, 3 constants. You have to come up with 3. There we go. It's about all I can think of that would really affect the boiling point that you find. All right? You see how that works? This is what I'm changing. This is what I'm looking for. And these are the things that I have to make sure don't change. In an experiment, you can only change one thing. So anything else that might have an effect has to be the same all over the place in your experiment. Okay? So here you have an example now. Your job is to take care of the I will drop a variety of objects from a height of 10 feet and use a stopwatch to record the time it takes for them to hit the ground. Okay? You come up with your independent variable, your dependent variable, and your constants. All right? If you have questions about any of this, let me know. Okay? And I look forward to seeing what your answers are. And once again, now you have some notes you can refer to on the quiz tomorrow. So good luck with this assignment. Good luck tomorrow. And I look forward to seeing your answers. Get in touch with me if you have any questions. All right? And I will see you again soon. Bye.